Hi, I'm Miss Andrea.
And I'm Miss Mare.
I'm Miss Jordan.
And this is Cheese Press.
Cheese Press Publishing does historical curriculum, kind of as our bread and butter. We publish other things too. But today we are here because we have this curriculum set called The Veins of Civilization, Ancient History, Book 1. So if you peruse these books, you will find toward the end there is a place that directs you to a video. And so what we are doing now is creating videos to go along with each one of these chapters. So that if someone is independently learning this material, they can come back and see our roundtable discussion of what we thought was important from the chapter and perhaps expanding on ideas that didn't quite make it into the book.
So we are starting with chapter 1.
Lesson 1. They are titled lessons because they run through 7 different books. So there are 28 total lessons, 4 lessons per book. And so this is book 1, lesson 1.
Okay. Gist of the first one is basically all of the ages in ancient civilization. Stone Age, there is a list, I don't have to say this out of order by accident. So Stone Age, which is caught up into the lower Paleolithic. Lower Paleolithic, Middle Paleolithic, and Upper Paleolithic. Mesolithic, Neolithic, Bronze Age, and then the Iron Age. Which is done in this little thing, which is also indicative of how you kind of find things in the earth based off of when it ended, when it was from. Because as, like, the older a thing is, the more time sediments and things have pushed it down and covered. And so as people excavate things, they kind of time date sometimes based off of how deep it was found.
I'm kind of glad that you said pushed down.
Rubble could have been created by other things and then covered it, but we don't have new dirt.
Matter can neither be created nor destroyed. That's why the laws of physics. So this whole lesson is titled an introduction. And so it really just kind of gives you this frame of reference to understand ancient things. So yeah, we talk about how there's a Stone Age, and it's this giant umbrella thing. It's a predecessor to Middle Ages. And we have these conversations based on the technologies that people were using.
Yes, 1,000%. All of the ages are broken up sort of in the progression of human culture and technology.
And so we use the word technology wildly because what we call technology now is not what technology was then. An example of Stone Age technology would be
fire. Fire is one of the earliest forms of technology. And in fact, it took us a very long time to get to fire can be created to uses for fire. There was a lot of
fire exists and happens, and we can start this fire from this and control it.
Yes.
That was a huge leap in skill.
Another one is wheels. We figured out wheels pretty early, and then we figured out how to put them onto things way later. We were just sort of like, I figured out axles. Axles were the key to wheels. Yeah, so technology is a broad term in the ancient context.
It is. So, largely, this whole chapter is about how we determine these different ages. Which is actually kind of important, because when you're talking Stone Ages, Middle Ages, things like that, different civilizations encounter these different technologies at different points in time. So we've got that pretty little chart that's like, these are the time periods of these things. But, when you get Bronze Age, and whether you actually call it a Copper Age or not, we sort of talk about that some. That varies wildly depending on where you are on the planet.
Yes.
And some of that's a natural resources thing. Like, not everybody had access to these metals to dig them out of the ground. So they may actually have a more advanced society, but they just weren't using metal to do it because they didn't really have access to metal to do it. I think that's...
At the end of the chapter, we introduced the idea of the Ice Age, or Ice Ages. Technically, all of them are more or less one big one. And that how the fluctuation in temperature sort of told us how we moved in the world for a very long time.
Yeah, because that's so the vast majority of book one, we're talking about people moving from one place to another.
Right.
We're not talking about settled buildings and
No.
villages and we don't get to that yet. That's gonna happen later.
We're really just saying, and then there were people.
Yeah.
Because we're not doing anything that happened before people. History is his story. So it's a story of people. It's not the story of things
I mean,
that happened
technically,
before
history
people.
is when we start writing things down.
Yeah.
So this
Yes.
is prehistory.
Prehistory.
Right.
This whole book is prehistory. We get to writing down.
But we're not doing.
Oh, much later we start
we're
writing.
not doing anything that happened before.
Oh, yes.
But it's still his story. It's still about man.
it's
yes.
about humans.
Right.
A lot of, even
Just
in the
human
next
prehistory.
lesson, it's just sort of like, and then people existed.
Right.
It just, and then people could stand. And that is, in fact, an advancement.
And that is, in fact, an advancement.
I'm like, I have legs.
So, yeah, here you go. This is a pretty straightforward chapter.
Okay, so then let's talk about the literature in it.
So each one of our lessons has the history part, and then it's going to have a literature component. There are questions that you should answer before you start reading it, and then there are questions you should answer when you're done with the whole lesson. So the literature part that we've included here is kind of a introduction to the idea of historical fiction, which is a literary genre that combines elements of history and fiction. So we have a segment of The Cave Boy and the Age of Stone by Margaret A. McIntyre printed in here. We give you chapter 6, right?
Yes.
Yes. Chapter 6,
The Coming
And
of
then-
Fire.
The Coming of Fire. We then also give you a link, so if you want to read the entire story, you can. There's an online link that will get you to a public domain version, and then there's the Kindle link as well.
Yes.
So no, lesson 1 is we're going to talk about these time periods and humans exist.
Yeah.
So there you are. That's lesson 1. It's pretty straightforward. If you have any questions about lesson 1, drop them in the comments and we will come back and try and answer them for you.
There is grammar at the end of each chapter.
Yes.
History, language, arts, it's all in there together. Ancient covers your basic principles of grammar. They're the basic building blocks of grammar. We're talking about the basic building blocks of humans and society, and so they kind of go together that way. When we get to the next series, which will be medieval, we are going to be discussing creative writing, and so there will be sections on that. In early modern, we start talking about research writing.
Yes.
And so in my mind, it says that research writing would be early modern, and then analysis and comparison would finish out with modern.